Hello and good morning. Welcome to another live stream here at Golden State Times. This time we have the Secretary of State Blinken. He's going to hold a press conference from the State Department. So make sure you guys stay tuned live here at Golden State Times for full coverage of this. This is very important, folks, believe it or not. It's very important. A lot of developments are going to come from this, as you guys know. Or if you guys have seen our website. So the Biden administration is going to be sending S-300 systems to Ukraine. The Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin held a joint press conference with Slovakia's defense minister following their bilateral talks on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Minister Nat said that he is prepared to send S-300 defense systems to Ukraine. So what's happening right now, not just with Slovakia, but also Poland and other countries. So what they're doing is that they're sending over their current systems over to Ukraine. So after they send their current systems to Ukraine, they are going to buy new systems from the United States. A lot of countries want to update their current systems. Hold, give me 1 second. Sorry, I just made a mistake. Sorry about that. But yeah, so like I was saying, a lot of countries, they are sending their systems that they have now over to Ukraine and then turning around and buying new systems from the United States. So we're going to be talking about that, or the Secretary of State is going to be talking about that right now. He is also going to be talking about new updates that are coming up regarding Ukraine from the State Department. And also we have China causing problems. So who knows what else he's going to be talking about. There's a lot of news going on right now. The news reports say that that Vladimir Putin is really mad because he only has a short amount of time and three moves left to make on Ukraine to see if it's either a make or break moment for him. So they're going to be talking about Putin. A lot of stuff is going on right now, folks. On our website, goldenstatetimes.com, we have full coverage of everything. It's www.goldenstatetimes.com. Some of the news of the morning, as you guys probably know, yesterday the Federal Reserve raised the interest rate a quarter, and they're saying that there's going to be 6 more rate hikes by the end of the year. So another one is coming right after everybody pays their taxes, obviously, because they can't screw us enough by taking away taxes. Now they're going to screw us by raising the interest rate once again. So it has raised a quarter. They're going to raise it another quarter or a half, but this is the worst part of it. How they say this is the kicker. By the end of the year, 2022, they are planning, the Federal Reserve is planning to raise the interest rate 3%. 3% by the end of the year. Now that is pure insanity. That is the craziest thing I have ever heard. 3%. So the interest rates for homes in 2021 was an average of around 3.5. So that means that if anybody is planning to buy a home, their interest rate is going to be between 6 and 7.5. 6 and 7.5 interest rate. That's just for homes. That has, that's not cars and credit cards, personal loans, and other kinds of loans, because they're planning to raise the interest rate at 3%, around 3%, and that's just in 2022 alone. That's not including what's going to happen in 2023 and onward. So that's what's happening right now, folks. Another thing too, but this is from around the world. Brazil. Give me 1 second here. Let me just try to make sure everything is running correctly. All right, so Brazil, there's a new report. It's on our website, goldenstatetimes.com. It says Brazil raises key interest rates within the country for the 9th straight time to over 11%, 11.75%. Now imagine if in the US they were to raise interest rates 11.75%. Now, don't think that these crazy people are not going to raise it more than the 3% that they're planning in 2022. No. If things continue going the way that they are, they'll raise it 3% in 2022, another 2% or 3% in 2023. And until they're able to, like the Federal Reserve Chair said yesterday, bring down inflation to 2%. Because that's their goal. They want to lower inflation to 2%. And right now we are at 7%. So they believe that if they raise interest rates 3%, they can bring it down to half, right? And then raise it another 2% in 2023 to bring it back down to 2%. But what about all those people that are going to get screwed? Like I've been telling people, for young people that were always planning to buy a home, right? 20-year-olds, early 30-year-olds that are dreaming to buy a home. In places like California is no longer going to happen. It's just not. And that's the reality of it. Here in California, the average price of a home is over $600,000 now. Unless you go into the middle of nowhere or some ghost town of 1,000 people, you will probably find something under $400,000. But if you go to a regular suburb, if you go to a small town, anywhere in California, you will not find a home under $500,000 to $600,000. And we're talking about an old house made in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. 1 story, tiny yard, GI home, pretty much. You will not find it under $600,000. So the dream of buying a home for a person under the age of, let's say, 32 is dead. And especially right now, while they're trying to raise all these interest rates and stuff like that. They're hiking interest rates. So there's another report on our website, goldenstatetimes.com, and it says, give me 1 second here. We're going to be switching over to the State Department. Give me 1 second. I think the hot mic is on too, so. That's funny. People are like, Blinken is a loser. Well, he doesn't care he's a loser. He's still going to do what he has to do. What Biden tells him to do. Give me 1 second. No. All right. So we got word that he is on his way out. Again, Blinken is the State Department Secretary. Give me 1 second here. Let me get everything situated here. All right. So that's what's going on regarding inflation, regarding interest rates. They're just going to keep, it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. So there's a new report. This is on our website, goldenstatetimes.com. And they're saying shoppers have reached their limits on price increases of basically everything. So there's a lot of retailers right now, like Macy's. They are saying, oh, well, you know, inflation is up, gas prices are up and everything. Okay, we're going to raise the prices of our furniture, for instance, $100 to $200. And let's see, people are just going to take it and, you know, they're going to continue buying. Well, that's not how it's working. People are not buying. And now they're freaking out. There's a brand, I guess it's a woman clothing brand called Bella Doll. I hope I said that right. And they raised the prices of their t-shirts over $20. Right? So they're overpriced Chinese-made t-shirts were, let's say, $80. And now they're saying, no, wait, because of inflation, because of this, because of that, we're going to raise it to $100. And people are stupid enough to buy it. Well, guess what? People are not stupid enough to buy it. They got a gigantic backlash on them, and now they put the tail between their legs, and they said, okay, we'll bring it back down to $80. And that's what's happening right now. These money-hungry, greedy corporations believe that they're going to raise their prices and nothing's going to happen. That people are just going to take it and continue buying, and that's not what's happening right now. People are hurting out there. And these greedy corporations want to get even more greedy, and now they're facing the consequences. Macy's has always been in close to the chopping block. As you guys know, Sears and all these other, companies that people used to go to in the 80s, 90s are no longer. And now the same thing's going to happen to Macy's. Last year, they closed like 500 of their department stores. This year, most likely, if they don't, change course and stop being greedy, then most likely they're going to get axed. But a bunch of companies were saying, we're just going to raise the prices. And another thing, too, that's going on, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this. So, fast food said, we're going to raise our prices. Okay. So, other things from the grocery store, like cereals and chips and all these other things, sodas. These people said, okay, wait, look, guys, we're not going to raise our prices. But guess what we are going to do? We're going to give you 5 ounces less. Now they're dubbing that shrinkflation. I think they're calling it shrinkflation. So instead of them raising their prices, they're just lowering the quantity of their products, making them smaller. And they're calling it shrinkflation. Now, let me know in the chat, do you guys think that is fair? buying a bag of chips that cost you, I don't know, $4 or $5. Now that it's smaller, it's still going to cost you $4 to $5 because the price is not going to go down just because the product size has gone down or the amount of the product shrinks. They're going to leave it at the exact same price. They say that they're doing that so consumers won't find out that they really are indeed raising their prices. Let me know in the chat, what do you guys think about that? So that's what's going on right now, folks. Shoppers are revolting against these greedy companies, thinking that people can they're just going to buy anything. It doesn't really matter. Also on our website, goldenstatetimes.com, we're switching over a little bit to immigration. So I have reported, I think it was a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago, that there was a new migrant caravan forming in Honduras. I also spoke about it, I think, a week or two ago, that there is another caravan, again, the same caravan that was building. It had exited Honduras and it was on its way through El Salvador, Guatemala, and then going into Mexico. Okay. So I think it was yesterday or the day before, the Mexican president met with Mayorkas and the Secretary of Homeland Security. And he told Mayorkas that he better prepare and that the United States better prepare. Not only is that caravan coming, which it is, and it's still coming, there's rampant inflation going on in Central and South America. Just like as you guys, like you just heard right now, in Brazil, they raised their interest rate hike. They hiked the interest rates 11%. They're doing that in other countries too. So a lot of people are going to get extremely desperate, and guess where they're going to head? To the United States. Now, at the beginning, the migrant caravan, the illegal alien caravan in Honduras, when it was building, it had around 2,000 people. When it reached El Salvador, it swelled to 5,000 people. Now, as it reaches El Salvador, who knows how many people they're going to pick up there in Guatemala and even maybe even Mexico, because stuff is getting pretty tough in Mexico too, not only with violence, but also inflation, and a bunch of other things. So who knows how many they're going to pick up there. So by the time that it actually gets to the border, Mexico already told the U.S., we are not going to stop it. We can't. There's too many people. They outnumber us. They outnumber cops probably like 10 to 1. They can't stop it. There's no way. They're just going to let it through. And who knows how many other people they're going to pick up on the way. And not only people from Latin America too. Don't forget that. We put a report on our website, goldenstatetimes.com, that Russians are getting through the southern border too. Russians are landing in Mexico and then going through the southern border to get into the United States. So no, not only do we have Latin American countries and their citizens coming through the southern border, but we also have people from all over the world pretty much. So by the time that it actually gets to the border, it's looking as going to be around 10 to 15,000. And that's just one caravan by itself. There were talks that other caravans were building in Nicaragua. They were building in Guatemala. That's if they get all connected in one. We're going to see between 10 to 15,000. If they break themselves apart, who knows how many we're going to see. And that's coming very soon. And Mexico told the U.S., prepare for a new migration wave, because inflation in all of these countries that they're coming from is out of control, just like in the U.S. But for them, it hits harder. Why? Because they're third world countries. The people are already dirt poor, and in the country, and their monetary is failing. Inflation is rampant. Devaluation of their currency is out of control now. This comes courtesy of Golden State Times, and it says the U.S. and Mexican governments are preparing for a surge in migrants heading to the border in the coming months after faster inflation in key countries in Central America added to the economic hardship. So that's what's happening, folks. It has been boiling for a long time, but now it's finally here. And like I told, I think it was at a White House press briefing when I said this, most likely you're going to hear on the mainstream media the news of the caravan probably around April. That's my guess. Usually when we report something, the fake news media reports it 2 months after. So if let's say we reported it now in March, April, May. So let's say in May, they're going to report it. They're going to finally tell you what's happening until they're actually at your front door. So stay tuned for that. Let's see here. Mexico prepares inflation. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know if you guys know this. It's also on our website, goldenstatetimes.com. So Chris Cuomo, as you guys know, he got fired from CNN. And he is now asking CNN for $125 million. That's his demand. Because according to him, CNN conducted a smear campaign against him. Regarding his brother, helping his brother and all that other stuff. So that's happening right now. CNN is getting sued by one of his lead anchors, so former lead anchors, for $125 million. That is some crazy stuff. And he's going after his other or his former colleagues, Tapper, Stelter, Lemon, pretty much going against them. And it says Chris Cuomo takes aim at Jake Tapper, Brian Stelter, Don Lemon in $125 million demand against CNN. And it says Chris Cuomo took aim at the former chief of CNN, Jeff Zucker, and Allison Gauss, and a slew of CNN hosts and personalities in a $125 million arbitration demand against his former network. Cuomo was fired from his position, as you guys know, following an investigation into the extent of which he helped fight back against misconduct allegations against his brother, former Governor Andrew Cuomo. So he's pretty much spilling the beans against everybody. That's pretty much what's going on at CNN. CNN is already, their ratings are probably more than half of what they used to be. So there's a lot of problems going on at CNN. Now, will AT&T sell it off? Who knows? If AT&T got rid of OAN, I don't see why AT&T won't get rid of CNN. And as I told you guys yesterday, OAN is done. It's, just like they say, stick a fork in it. It's done. OAN is history. It's no longer. Maybe they'll survive a little bit on social media and on their website and stuff like that. But other than that, OAN is done. Alrighty, so let's see here. All right, folks. So I just got word that he should be coming out in just a few moments. Thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. So, as you guys know, typical of the U.S. government, the White House press briefing is set to begin soon. Thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. So we're going to be starting the White House press briefing also. Both of the things are going to be at the exact same time, like always with these people. So if you guys want to join us for either the Secretary of State Blinken press conference or the White House press briefing, we have both going on at the exact same time. Thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button, and don't forget also to subscribe and click the bell if you are new. We'd like to give a big shout out and a thank you to all of our members, our sponsors, because we're not sponsored by huge corporations or billionaires with their useless products. Nope. We are sponsored by viewers just like you, patriots in the chat. Those are our only sponsors. We are not restricted in what we cover. We're not restricted in what we talk about. We don't answer to anyone except our viewers, except you, the American people, and patriots all over the world too. So that here at Golden State Times is, we can proudly say that we're not controlled by any one millionaire, billionaire, or corporations or businesses or anything. We're not controlled by anyone. Here at Golden State Times, I can talk bad about whoever needs to be talked bad about. I don't hold back against going against anyone. I can care less if they're Republican, Democrat, left, right, conservative, liberal. I can care less. If they're being stupid, I'm going to tell you that they're stupid, and nobody's going to stop me. That's just the way that we do it here at Golden State Times. Why? Because we're not controlled. There's no corporation telling me, hey, whoa, don't talk bad about so-and-so. Come on now. Or there's no corporation telling me, oh, you need to report about this or report about that. Not here at Golden State Times. That's not what we do, folks. What we do is show you raw footage of events that go on at the White House, State Department, and everywhere else in between. And we report the news the way that they're supposed to be reported. Why? Because we have no agenda. My main focus and my main goal is to tell you guys exactly what's going on, whether it's inflation out of control, whether it's, rates going up 3, 4, 5% within the next year or so, or whether it be gas prices at $7. I'm going to tell you the hard truth. And my only objective is to let you guys know, and so you guys can prepare. So that way they don't catch you by surprise. Because the last thing I want is for these corrupt individuals to catch you by surprise. Now, if you tune into Golden State Times, they will never catch you by surprise. Why? Because I have already warned you a couple of weeks in advance, couple of months in advance. And I have been telling people, prepare for high gas prices, prepare for inflation, prepare for interest rate hikes, prepare for a bunch of other stuff that these people are planning. One thing that I do want to say, and I'm not going to take it with a grain of salt, like they say, but one thing that I do want to remind people is that evil entities have to warn you before they do their evil deeds. Now, maybe that's not the way that it's written in the Bible, but it's basically the gist of it. Evil entities have to do their evil deeds, right? But they have to warn you before they do it. That's the way that evil works. And that's the reason why I tell people, watch the White House press briefings. Even if you don't like Jen, even if Jen, rubs you the wrong way, or you can't stand her lies or whatever. Yes, I understand that. But that's not the point. The point is to make sure that you're informed, because these evil people have to show you. They have to warn you before they do anything evil that's going to hurt people, put people in a bad situation, or anything else in between. They have to warn you beforehand, and they do. They warn you out in the open. They don't hide anything. So that's what happens, folks, here at Golden State Times. We warn you before things, we show you so you can get warned before things happen. I also come out and say, you know what, guys, look, this is the chatter in the background. This is what these people are talking about between themselves. This is what they're planning. And I try to do my best to make sure that I keep you guys informed of everything that they do, everything that they're planning, everything that they're thinking of doing. So that's what we do here at Golden State Times. Now I'm going to get ready. I'm going to get the White House press briefing ready, and I'll be back on the microphone if the Secretary of State is not out yet. But if he is, obviously I'm not going to interfere with him. But just know that we have the White House press briefing going on at the exact same time that Secretary Blinken is going to be delivering his press conference. So if you guys want to be on this one or the other one or both, God bless you. Thank you so much for helping out Golden State Times. So Carolyn Hall, what Carolyn Hall said is pretty much what I'm trying to say. But not only that, but people that do his evil deeds is what I'm saying. People that do his evil deeds have to warn in advance. They can't do it just out of the blue. That's just the way that things work. They can't just do it out of the blue. They have to warn you that, we're going to raise inflation. Like Blinken. No, like the guy from the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. Like Jerome Powell said back in November. He said, in 2022, we're going to raise the interest rate 6 times, or maybe even 7 times. He did not give a date on when the first raise was going to be. He didn't give an indication of how much it was going to be. He just said, we're going to raise the interest rate 7 times in 2022. And that's it. Boom. Done. That was the warning. And that came out at a press conference that we live streamed back in November. And we even uploaded the video. And at the time, I told people, okay, guys, prepare for 2022. They're going to raise the interest rates. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We didn't know when it was going to be the first time. We didn't know how much it was going to be, the raise of the interest rates. We didn't know anything because they don't give any information more than what they're planning to do. They're not going to give specifics. They're not going to go into detail. They're just going to say, we're going to do this, and boom, it's done. That's the warning. So that's what I'm talking about. All of these are extremely important. All of these White House press briefings, State Department press briefings, Pentagon press briefings, Senate, Congress, Republican, Democrat, all of these are extremely important. Why? Because they are here to warn us, to warn the American people before they actually do their evil deeds. But Carolyn Hall, thank you so much for putting it bluntly like that. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. All right, folks, so I'm getting the White House press briefing ready to go here for you guys in case you guys are interested in watching this one or the White House press briefing. Or both, either or both. God bless you guys, and thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. We have like two, here in my office is very weird sometimes because we have 2, 3, sometimes even 4 live streams going on at the same time. So everybody's talking. It sounds like, like background noise, background chatter. Sometimes my wife comes into my office and she goes, I can't stand it. She just runs out. Too many people talking at the exact same time. Sometimes it gets a little chaotic here at Golden State Times. But I don't know. It's like, for me, it's like I've been doing this for 6, 7 years now. So it's like, it's normal for me to have a bunch of people talking at the exact same time. And I can actually pay attention to all of them. Trying to stay updated myself, it's that's how it is here at Golden State Times. All right, so we're getting word that we can switch over to the White House. So we have both of them going on at the exact same time. Thank you so much once again for joining us here at Golden State Times for full coverage of the Secretary of State and also the White House press briefing. Whoop.
Secretary, just wanted to let you know we're still expecting the Secretary. Should be down shortly. I apologize for the delay. Hopefully in the next 10-15 minutes. You're on. Or not.
Expecting.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay, thanks, bye. Yeah. Comes back, doesn't it? Okay.
All right, folks. So to those that are on our White House press briefing, thank you so much. And to those that are here to watch Secretary of State Blinken, thanks for being awesome. I'm trying to keep up with both chats here. Alrighty, so let's see here. White House press briefing is going on right now at the White House. Jen is set to come out very soon, and then we also have the State Department on the other side, and the Secretary of State should be coming out soon. So they love doing this, both of them at the exact same time, but they're both always late. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us here at Golden State Times. We have the White House press briefing going on at the same time as the State Department. In case you guys are wondering which ones, which ones you guys want to see. If you guys will have both, thank you so much. God bless you guys. That helps us out a lot. But don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button here at the State Department. But also, if you can head over to the White House and click the thumbs up button there too. That helps us out immensely. I'm not on the microphone at the White House, which I hope I was, but for some reason the switch is not working correctly today. I'm trying to switch over between the State Department and the White House on the microphone, but the switch is not working. Who knows? Who knows what's going on with that? Always something happens when it comes to technology. It's either one thing or another, or the internet, or both, But it is what it is. So I'm trying to chat here on the White House chat. So if you guys can head over and give it a thumbs up at the White House, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for your help and your support. If you're new to the channel, we encourage you to subscribe and click that notification bell. And thank you so much to the members in the chat. God bless you guys, because you guys help us stay live, and you guys help us continue operation here on YouTube. And we do it because of you. Thank you so much, great patriots. And also, if you'd like to help out Golden State Times, the best way to do it is by clicking the thumbs up button, sharing the live stream, and clicking the notification bell. That helps us out immensely. But if you'd like to help out Golden State Times on a monthly basis, becoming a member is a very good way of doing it. Just click the join button. It'll give you all the information, and we hope that you guys join us. Thank you so much. All right, folks. So the guy has come out. Now I think it's a 5-minute warning, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think that won't work because of the live gaming and sure work that.
All right, folks in the chat, why didn't anybody tell me it was St. Patrick's Day? Is it St. Patrick's Day today? I just got pinched by my wife because I didn't even know it was St. Patrick's Day, to be honest with you. She came and she goes, look, and she had a green shirt on. I'm like, why you have a green shirt on? And then she just pinched me because I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day. That's how busy I am, folks, keeping up with these people. But thanks for joining us here at Golden State Times on St. Patrick's Day. I didn't even know that.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3 weeks ago, Russia launched its unprovoked war on Ukraine. With every day that passes, the number of civilians, including children, killed and wounded, continues to climb. Russia continues to attack civilian sites, including this week alone, a hospital, 3 schools, a boarding school for visually impaired kids in the Luhansk region of Ukraine. Yesterday, Russian forces bombed a theater in Mariupol where hundreds of people had been taking shelter. The word children had been written in Russian in giant white letters on the pavement outside the building so that you could know from the air that there were children inside. Russian forces also opened fire on 10 civilians who were waiting in line for bread. These incidents join a long list of attacks on civilian, not military locations across Ukraine, including apartment buildings, public squares, and last week, a maternity hospital in Mariupol. I doubt that any of us who saw those images will ever forget them. We've seen Russia use similar tactics before, in Grozny, in Aleppo. They stepped up their bombardment with the goal of breaking the will of the people. Yesterday, President Biden said that, in his opinion, war crimes have been committed in Ukraine. Personally, I agree. Intentionally targeting civilians is a war crime. After all the destruction of the past 3 weeks, I find it difficult to conclude that the Russians are doing otherwise. The consequences of Moscow's war are being felt around the world in rising food costs, concerns about fuel supplies, more broadly in worries about how this war will affect the global economy and the fight against COVID-19. These are serious issues that the global community urgently needs to address. This war is making that much more difficult. In this way, Russia's actions are having an impact on every person on the planet, wherever they live. We also feel the impact right here in this room. There should be a seat reserved here today for Benjamin Hall from Fox News, who was injured badly when his vehicle came under attack near Kyiv. Many of us, myself included, have gotten to know Ben very well as part of the traveling press corps. He's an incredibly talented reporter, always asking tough questions. He's a lovely person as well. Our thoughts, my thoughts, are with him and his family, including his 3 little kids. 2 of Ben's Fox News colleagues, Pierre Zavchevsky and Sasha Kushanova, were killed in the attack. And Brent Renaud, a reporter on assignment with Time magazine, was killed in a separate attack a day earlier. I know that everyone in this room, in particular, feels these losses deeply. Being a war correspondent is vital work. They make sure that the world knows what's really happening when armies move in and bombs start falling. It also takes incredible courage. They go into war zones when others, understandably, are heading out as fast as possible. So these are huge losses, of course, for families, for friends, but also for their colleagues, their profession, their readers and viewers who understand world events because of them. Our experts are in the process of documenting and evaluating potential war crimes being committed in Ukraine. Beth Van Schack, whom the Senate finally confirmed this week as our ambassador at large for global criminal justice, will be leading that effort within the State Department. We'll make sure that our findings help international efforts to investigate war crimes and hold those responsible accountable. I'd also mention that there are several other nominations before the Senate with a direct bearing on our ability to support Ukraine, including for Assistant Secretary of State for Population, Refugees, and Migration, Assistant Secretary of State for International Security and Nonproliferation, and our Coordinator for Sanctions Policy. So I urge the Senate to confirm these nominees quickly so that they can get to work as soon as possible. A few weeks ago, just days before Russia's invasion began, I went to the United Nations Security Council to lay out what we believed was about to happen. Again today, we have a strong sense of what Russia could do next. We believe that Moscow may be setting the stage to use a chemical weapon and then falsely blame Ukraine to justify escalating its attacks on the Ukrainian people. Manufacturing events and creating false narratives of genocide to justify greater use of military force is a tactic that Russia has used before, including in Georgia. We believe Russia will bring its mercenaries from private military groups and foreign countries to Ukraine. President Putin acknowledged as much over the weekend when he authorized the recruitment of additional forces from the Middle East and elsewhere. Another indication that his war effort is not going as he hoped it would. They're also likely to systematically kidnap local officials and replace them with puppets. Again, this has already begun. The mayor of Melitopol was grabbed off the street several days ago, released yesterday in a prisoner exchange. The mayor of another city in southern Ukraine was also kidnapped. He hasn't yet been let go. This is a terror tactic. Grab local officials, depose local governments, put proxies in their place. After devastating Ukrainian cities, Moscow may bring in officials from Russia to serve as local government officials and surge what they describe as economic support in an attempt to make the people dependent on Moscow for survival. Again, something that Russia did in Georgia. President Putin's invasion of Ukraine is not going to plan. The Ukrainian people haven't welcomed the Russian military. They haven't submitted. On the contrary, they're fighting with extraordinary courage to protect their homes, their families, their country. Russia has been hit by unprecedented sanctions and cut off from the global economy. Its own economy is in free fall. Hundreds of corporations have closed operations. In a matter of weeks, President Putin has destroyed 30 years of opening to the world and economic opportunity for the Russian people. Dozens of members of the Kremlin's corrupt power base have been sanctioned. Several have lost their mega yachts and villas. President Putin has derided those sanctions, using recent public diatribes to mock Russians living abroad as too dependent, as he said, on foie gras and oysters. Meanwhile, he sits in his mansions, having accumulated billions, taking wealth from the Russian people while they stand in long lines to access cash and watch as stores close and the ruble plummets in value. It's no wonder that brave Russians continue to protest the war and be beaten and arrested for it. And Russian journalists are resigning from their jobs at state media outlets because they can't stomach parroting the Kremlin's lies any longer. Still, President Putin is not relenting, and in fact may be growing more desperate. And so yesterday, President Biden announced, and I authorized another $800 million in military aid to Ukraine. That brings our support for Ukraine's frontline defenders to more than $2 billion during this administration, $1 billion in the last week alone. We're grateful to have a determined and generous partner in Congress, which this week provided more than $13 billion in urgent support to Ukraine. And we'll continue to work with lawmakers to support Ukraine and hold the Kremlin to account. As President Biden described, this new security assistance package includes 800 anti-aircraft systems to stop attacking planes and helicopters before they destroy more of Ukraine, 9,000 anti-armor systems to destroy tanks and armored vehicles, 7,000 small arms, including machine guns and grenade launchers, and 20 million rounds of ammunition. We're also helping Ukraine acquire longer-range anti-aircraft systems and munitions at President Zelensky's request. And I've been in almost daily contact with Foreign Minister Kuleba, coordinating to respond swiftly to Ukraine's most urgent needs. Our allies and partners continue to step up with their own significant shipments of security assistance. I've authorized more than a dozen countries to provide U.S. origin equipment, and dozens more around the world have provided security assistance of their own. I'd also note that in addition to assistance from the Department of Defense, we're sending support from other agencies, including $10 million worth of armored vehicles from our own diplomatic security service. And yesterday, I announced another $186 million in humanitarian assistance to help the more than 3 million refugees who fled Ukraine in the past 3 weeks, the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II, as well as internally displaced people still in Ukraine. This brings our total humanitarian aid since last month to $293 million. And of the more than $13 billion for Ukraine that Congress is putting forward, more than $4 billion of that will go to humanitarian assistance. Ukraine's neighbors in Europe are generously welcoming, supporting refugees. The United States will do our part to help those governments and the humanitarian organizations on the ground meet this tremendous need. All the steps that we and our allies and partners are taking are aimed at one goal: to end the war. The support we're providing Ukraine, as well as our financial and economic measures against Moscow, will strengthen Ukraine's hand at the diplomatic table. And we commend Ukraine for staying at that table and continuing to pursue diplomacy while the Kremlin's brutal aggression continues. We'll support Ukraine's diplomatic efforts however we can. We continue to call on all nations, especially those with direct influence with Russia, to use whatever leverage they have to compel Moscow to end this war of choice. We believe China in particular has a responsibility to use its influence with President Putin and to defend the international rules and principles that it professes to support. Instead, it appears that China is moving in the opposite direction by refusing to condemn this aggression while seeking to portray itself as a neutral arbiter. And we're concerned that they're considering directly assisting Russia with military equipment to use in Ukraine. President Biden will be speaking to President Xi tomorrow and will make clear that China will bear responsibility for any actions it takes to support Russia's aggression, and we will not hesitate to impose costs. Let me close by saying that President Zelensky's message to Congress and to the American people yesterday was incredibly powerful. He's asked for more help, which we are providing and will continue to provide. And he said that the people of Ukraine want the same things for themselves that we want for ourselves: democracy, independence, freedom. No one who's watched the events of the past 3 weeks could ever doubt the depth of Ukraine's commitment to these ideals. We'll continue to stand with Ukraine as it fights for its future. We'll continue to increase the costs on Russia until it ends this war of choice. And we'll continue to provide life-saving aid to the Ukrainian people as they endure the brutal consequences of Russia's aggression. With that, happy to take some questions.
Paul.
So, what do you think about the talks between Ukraine and Russia? Are they making any progress? President Zelensky seems to suggest there are things they are talking about.
So we're in close contact, as I said, with Ukraine's leaders, including, in my case, Foreign Minister Kuleba. We're in close contact with other countries that have, in one way or another, been engaging on diplomacy. And to date, I have to say, on the one hand, we commend Ukraine for being at the table despite being under bombardment every minute of the day. At the same time, I have not seen any meaningful efforts by Russia to bring this war that it's perpetrating to a conclusion through diplomacy. We support Ukraine's efforts to try to de-escalate through diplomacy, to reach a ceasefire, and of course the withdrawal of Russian forces. We appreciate the efforts of other countries, including France, Germany, Israel, Turkey, and others. But again, from where I sit, diplomacy requires both sides engaging in good faith to de-escalate, and I don't see signs right now that Putin is prepared to stop. On the contrary, if you listen to, just for example, his most recent remarks yesterday, that suggests that he is moving in the opposite direction. But never mind the words, what we're really focused on is actions. And the actions that we're seeing Russia take every single day, virtually every minute of every day, are in total contrast to any serious diplomatic effort to end the war. So we're looking to see Russia take meaningful actions to de-escalate, to stop the violence that is perpetrating on Ukraine, and to engage in good faith talks. We will support any effort that Ukraine makes to do that. We're certainly doing everything we can to back them, but also to make sure that they have the strongest possible hand if there are any real negotiations and if diplomacy does advance. Hence the support that we're giving to Ukraine, as well as the pressure that we continue to put and even increase on Russia.
Thank you, Secretary. There is, this department is confirming that an American has died in Ukraine today. So I'm wondering if you can share any more with us about the circumstances, about who that person is, and if there will be specific consequences for Russia because an American died. And then second, earlier this week you said on CNN that one way or another Ukraine will be there and at some point Putin won't. But we're watching every day Ukrainians are getting killed, their cities are being demolished. So how can you be so confident to say something like that? And are you suggesting that Putin should be removed as the leader of Russia? Thank you.
Kali, first with regard to the American citizen, I can confirm that an American citizen was killed. I don't have any more details for you than that, but I can confirm that. Second, it is, I think, not only clear to me, but clear to the world that an independent Ukraine will be there long after Vladimir Putin. And it's also clear that this could horrifically go on for some time. But when all is said and done, an independent Ukraine will be there, and at some point Vladimir Putin will not. The real question is how much death and destruction is going to occur in the meantime. And we're doing everything we can to bring this war perpetrated by Russia to the quickest possible end. That's where the support for Ukraine comes in. That's where the pressure on Russia comes in. That's where the work, the coordination that we're doing with countries around the world comes in. But I think the world has seen this. The world has seen the absolute determination of the Ukrainian people to hold on to their country, to hold on to their future, to hold on to their freedom. And there is nothing that Vladimir Putin can do to subjugate that to his will. But, as I said, this could go on for some time, and we're going to continue to work to bring it to an end as quickly as we can.
And should Putin
Kylie,
remain
we're
the
trying to
leader
move
of
around.
Russia?
Connor?
Mr. Secretary, you described what you called Russia's terror tactics. Is the State Department considering designating Russia a state sponsor of terrorism? And then second, everything that you described, the words that the president has used in recent days, war criminal, murderous dictator, pure thug, do you think that there can ever be normal relations between the United States and Russia so long as Vladimir Putin is in power?
So our focus, first and foremost, is on doing everything we can to help bring this war to a quick end, to stop the suffering of the Ukrainian people. That's the result of Russia's aggression on Ukraine. That's our focus. As we're doing that, and as I said earlier, we're also looking very carefully at what is happening, what is being done, and in particular looking at the question of whether war crimes are being committed, and among other things, the intentional targeting of civilians would constitute a war crime. You heard President Biden speak to this yesterday. You heard what I said a few minutes ago. So we are documenting. We welcome the efforts of various groups, institutions, organizations that focus on this to bring all of the evidence together, to continue to document things, and then for there to be accountability one way or the other. In terms of other designations based on actions that Russia is taking, we are and we will look at everything.
Yulia Yarmolenko.
On the second question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but remind me.
Just as long as Putin is in power, can there be normal relations between Russia and the United States?
Again, our focus is on ending this war. I don't want to speculate about the future, but there's going to have to be, one way or another, accountability for this war of aggression.
Yulia Yarmolenko, VOA Ukrainian.
So, on possible negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, if Russia agrees to stop attacks and withdraw its forces from Ukraine, are there any security formats that will guarantee that Russia would not renew its aggression against Ukraine? If it's not membership in NATO for Ukraine, then what? And another question, President Biden said that U.S. will accept Ukrainian refugees with open arms, and so far there is no official visa or other program for Ukrainians who are fleeing war or who want to come to the United States or reunite with their families. Is Department of State working on some special expedited program for Ukrainian refugees, and if yes, when it might be launched?
Thank you. First, on the diplomacy, look, I'm not going to speculate on the substance of any negotiations, where that might go. As I said, we fully and strongly support whatever the government of Ukraine, the democratically elected government of Ukraine, does. We very much welcome sentiments that we've heard expressed for trying to bring this to a diplomatic end as quickly as possible. I think in the first instance, what Ukraine needs is de-escalation. It needs Russian forces out of Ukraine. It needs to have its basic freedom and independence returned. But I leave it to Ukrainian partners to work on advancing the diplomacy if they believe that can be productive. We will look at whatever we can do to support that. And if there are issues that wind up being negotiated that require in some fashion our participation, of course, we'll look at that and see where we can be helpful. We want to be able, in the first instance, to do what we're doing, which is to support the government of Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, along with putting pressure on Russia. If diplomacy finally carries the day, and there are things that we can do to support that diplomacy and to support any outcomes that restore Ukraine's independence, we will, of course, look at that, and I'm sure do that. With regard to refugees, a couple of things. First, as I said, this is the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. The numbers are staggering. And of course, what gets lost sometimes behind these numbers are the real lives that are at stake and that are being changed, maybe not forever, but are being changed in profound ways. I saw some of that firsthand when I was on the border between Poland and Ukraine with a number of you just a couple of weeks ago, talking to people who had made the journey across the border looking for safety in the face of this Russian onslaught. And in many cases, most cases, women and children, the men staying behind to fight. And we see the impact, of course, in Ukraine. We see the impact on neighboring countries, Poland, Moldova, Romania, others, that are taking in very large numbers of refugees. The generosity, I think, is extraordinary. But the numbers are growing. The challenge is growing. I was on a call, a video conference this morning with our G7 partners. And this is one of the things that we talked about, having a coordinated approach to dealing with and helping refugees coming over. The United States is already and will remain the largest provider of humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. Part of the package that is in the supplemental includes about $4 billion in humanitarian assistance. And that will go both directly to Ukraine. It will also go to neighboring countries and others, and Ukrainians outside of Ukraine to support them. Second, we are working closely with UNHCR to see how we can support this effort. Finally, we're looking at things that we can do ourselves and do directly. For example, looking at steps we may be able to take on family reunification and other things that we can do to be supportive and to really take part in this effort. Last thing I'll say is this. And of course, there is the refugee referral process, but that takes time. But if people apply for refugee status and seek to come to the United States, of course, we will take referrals. But we're looking at steps that we can take in the near term. Last thing is this. I think what we're seeing, at least initially, is that so many people coming out of Ukraine understandably want to stay close to home. They hope, we hope, that they'll be able to return home as soon as possible. They also want to stay close to home because, as I said, in many cases it's women and children who have left behind spouses, husbands, fathers, brothers, and they want to be reunited as quickly as possible. So they want to stay as close as possible. But as this, and if this goes on, as the numbers increase, as the burden increases for European partners, we will certainly do everything we can to help. So I suspect we'll have more to say on this in the coming days. It's something we're very focused on right now.
Time for one final quick question from Andrea.
Mr. Secretary, you outlined, recounted a litany of horrific attacks on civilians. You said you agree with the President's comment that they are war crimes, as the UN ambassador said last week. I know there has to be an investigation, but where will the accountability be? What should happen to Vladimir Putin if he is found guilty, since he is the state? What should happen to this leader? Tell the world.
So, Andrea, a few things. First, we're all seeing what, and you're showing powerfully on television these devastating images coming out of Ukraine, and we are seeing the destruction of so much of the country by Russian bombs and artillery. We're seeing civilian sites being devastated. We're seeing people being killed. Hundreds, thousands of people, civilians. And yes, as I said, again, as the President said yesterday, in his opinion, war crimes are being committed. I agree with that. After all the destruction that we've seen, it's really hard to conclude otherwise. But what we're doing is this, and I'll come to your question. We are, in the first instance, supporting the very important work that's being done, the evidentiary process, to bring the evidence together, to document what's happened, to support and to work with human rights activists, with civil society, with independent media, as well as with the appropriate organizations and institutions that look into this. So we need to go through this process of compiling the evidence, collecting the evidence, understanding the evidence. We'll share that, and our allies and partners, I'm sure, will do the same with all of the investigations that are ongoing to support accountability using every tool that we have available. I'm not going to get ahead of, first of all, what the outcome will be or what the consequences will be, but I can say with conviction that there will be accountability for any war crimes that are determined to have occurred.
You say that after Aleppo and Grozny, he does it repeatedly. He's a repeat offender.
You know,
as a war criminal.
Andrea, when we said before Russia's aggression that there would be massive consequences for that aggression, including unprecedented sanctions on Russia, I know some people had their doubts. I think we've demonstrated that we've been good to our word. When we said that there would be sustained, powerful support for Ukraine and its efforts to defend itself, we've demonstrated that we're good to our word. So when I tell you that there will be accountability and consequences for any war crimes that have been committed, I hope you'll take me at my word, but actions always speak louder than words.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.